All right, I think we're live. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live session. I'm Luke Neerman. I'm one of the attorneys here at Joseph and Hall, and we have Jennifer Howard as well. So we'll be hosting our session today. We have a couple of topics that we'd like to discuss and throw out there. Our theme for the day is TPS. We're going to be talking about a couple different things with temporary protected status. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll answer those at the end of our time. So why don't we get started? Jennifer, do you want to go first?
Sure. Sorry, I was frozen there for a second.
Yeah.
So, hi, everyone. I just have a quick announcement. This week on July 11th, which I guess was Monday, the Secretary of Homeland Security announced that this administration will be extending Venezuela's temporary protected status, or TPS designation, for 18 months. Right now, it was set to expire at the end of this year in December. And so the extension will be in effect from September 10th, 2022 through March 10th, 2024. Right now, we're still waiting on the upcoming Federal Register notice that will have instructions for how to apply for that re-registration and what the actual re-registration period will be. So we don't have details on that yet, but we will update as soon as we have that. And any clients that we have already for Venezuela will be reaching out to you guys about re-registering. And that's it. Quick, short, and sweet.
All right, awesome. Well, the other thing that we wanted to share with you today, another TPS announcement, is something that hopefully will benefit a number of people. I think it will benefit a number of people. I've been getting a lot of questions lately from a number of current clients and potential clients who say that they've heard of this new law that says that there's been a change that if you have TPS, you can apply for your lawful permanent residency. It's not quite as cut and dry as that. So we wanted to delve into some of these details regarding a recent policy change, a new update that was announced just on July 1st. So it's pretty recent. So with TPS, TPS stands for temporary protected status. So that gives people permission to live and work here in the United States for a temporary period of time. For TPS holders, you can also travel outside of the United States. So there's a mechanism you need to go through. Typically, that was an application for Advance Parole that you would apply for. If that was approved, that Advance Parole would allow someone to leave the United States, go for a temporary visit abroad, and then come back into the United States and maintain their TPS status here in the U.S. So that's one thing. So, a separate thing is eligibility to apply for adjustment of status in the United States. So adjustment of status, just a quick recap, that's where people who are already here in the United States, sometimes they have the option to adjust their status to that of a permanent resident, meaning you get your green card. Now, generally, one of the basic requirements in order to apply for adjustment of status is that someone have a lawful admission in the United States, meaning they came, usually they came like with a visa, a tourist visa, another type of visa, or they were paroled, they were inspected at the border and paroled into the United States, meaning they were given permission to come in here to the United States. So that's it's not applicable in every case, but in most cases, you need to have that lawful admission. So how does that jive with TPS? So a lot of people here on TPS have entered the United States without inspection, meaning somebody might have just crossed the border. And then after they had been here, TPS was announced for their country. And so they were allowed to apply for TPS and stay here. Now, if that person didn't have a lawful admission, whether it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, generally then they wouldn't be eligible to apply for permanent residence. So maybe they're eligible for or wanting to apply for permanent residence through a family member or through a spouse. But generally, without that lawful admission, they're not eligible to apply for permanent residence. But for folks who had previously applied for advance parole, that permission to leave the United States. The way that functioned is they left the United States. When they tried to come back in, they would be paroled back into the United States. And for a long time, USCIS interpreted that as saying, if you traveled with advance parole, you were paroled back into the United States. That counts as a lawful admission. And so you can, if you have a route, maybe through a family member to apply for permanent residency, you can file your application for adjustment of status and you have that lawful entry. So that changed in 2020. The appellate body at USCIS came out with this decision called Matter of ZRZC, and then the Administrative Appeals Office adopted that in August of 2020. And basically what that said is, if you travel with advance parole and you come back into the United States, that doesn't count as an admission for purposes of adjustment of status. This is a huge change. It meant that kind of a route that a lot of people had relied on to be eligible to apply for adjustment of status was no longer an option. So that was August 2020. Fast forward a couple of years, 2 years here, July 2022, and USCIS has changed its policy. And so they have said, we're no longer going to uphold that policy as announced in Matter of ZRZC. And in fact, if you have TPS and you apply to travel outside the United States and you come back in with that travel document, we're going to count that as a lawful entry, meaning that you can then apply for adjustment of status. If you have a family member or a route to do that. So we're going to count that as a lawful entry. They said they're going to change the mechanism just a little bit, and so they're going to issue a specific a TPS specific travel authorization document. It's going to be slightly different than this advance parole document that had been issued previously. So that's to come in the future. But this is the big change. It was a big change in 2020 when they said, we're not going to count this as a lawful admission. We're really happy to see that 2 years later, they've changed course and they've said, no, actually, the statute and the regulations allow for this to be counted as a lawful admission. So that's going to help a lot of folks. So, if you have TPS, if you know someone with TPS, if you think you might have a route to permanent residency to apply for adjustment of status, I think it's a good idea to consult with an attorney, make a consultation with us, make an appointment so we can look at your case and see if this is something that might benefit you, because it's a great help for a lot of folks with TPS. Did I miss anything there, Jennifer? Did I got kind of in the weeds with TPS?
No, that was awesome. I think you covered it all.
All right. All right. I don't know if we have any. We have no questions. Come on,
No
guys.
questions. Well, next week. Everybody have your questions next week.
Yes. So we are here pretty much every Thursday at noon. So come back, bring your questions. It doesn't have to be related to the topic we've talked about this week. Any questions are welcome. We're happy to answer those.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks.
Well, have a good week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Have a good week. Bye.